Howdy folks, I'm brash Baltimore checker spot, boisterously bargaining with bitter beavers.
I'm Amber.
And here are more bitter beavers for us to bargain with, though I don't know why they're so bitter. We only destroyed their entire home, made the river run cleanly. They have nothing to be mad about. But let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Tipping? I know when first reading the title you're thinking, yes, you're the jerk, but let me explain. A group of 8 friends and I, a 37-year-old male, went out for dinner at a new restaurant. We were at one of those CU-shaped tables, and I was sitting on the left side of the booth, and I was the third person with 2 friends to my left, and the rest of my friends were wrapped around the rest of the booth. Well, when the waiter came to take our order, he took the order of my 2 friends on my left, then skipped over me, and took all of my other friends' orders, and then he took mine last. I thought maybe that it was just some sort of humor, so I didn't really care too much. Just thought that it was weird humor. Then the drinks come out, and he gave all of my friends their drinks, and then he gave me mine last. Again, I brushed it off. He takes our food order, and then once again, he takes my 2 friends' orders to my left, and then skips me and saves me for last. That's when I start to feel like he's doing this intentionally. So the food comes out, and all of my friends get their food, but mine doesn't come. After about 5 minutes, still nothing. Another few minutes pass before another waiter passes by, and we flag him down to let him know that my food hasn't come. He goes and grabs our waiter, who then takes about another 5 minutes to show up. When we tell him that my food hasn't arrived yet, he says, "Oh, I completely forgot to put your order in. I'll go put that in now." Well, my friends had been waiting for me to get my food so that we could all start eating at the same time, but I told them just to go ahead and eat. My food didn't come until after they had all finished theirs and had come to collect their plates. I finished my food, and my friends decided that they wanted some dessert. So we ordered dessert, and the waiter once again skips me and takes my order last. I'm extremely upset at this point, but I don't say anything. I just accept it. And once again, my friends get all the desserts, but I don't get mine. About 10 minutes after they all get theirs, he comes back and says, "Oh yeah, they were all out of what you wanted. Do you want something else?" I just say no, and I leave it alone. Well, when the bill comes, he starts trying to be all chummy with everyone, including me. I just glare at him. He leaves. My friends start discussing how much to tip and say that we should all split it. I outright told them that I am not tipping at all because of how he treated me specifically. One of my friends used to work as a waitress and told me that she understands why I wasn't going to tip, but decided that she would just tip on my behalf, which also upset me, but I let it go. A few of my friends told me that I'm being a jerk for deciding not to tip because maybe he's having a bad day. I could accept that he was having a bad day if he was doing that to everyone, but it was like he singled me out. I know American tip culture makes a lot of people think that you should tip no matter what, but for something that felt so deliberate, I personally think that it's okay not to tip. To answer a few questions ahead of time, 1, no, never have I met the guy before, and I've never seen this dude before coming to this restaurant. 2, it's a brand new restaurant, so I've never been there before with no history at this place. 3, I'm genuinely very nice to customer service workers as I've spent years working in customer service myself, and I typically will tip even with bad service, but this just felt deliberate. So am I the jerk for deciding not to tip after this experience? And folks, I'm going to read a couple of comments here because I think they add some relevance, so let me get into that. And Satisfaction Hour 1722 says, "Info, are you the only male at the table? As for forgetting your order, no, you're not the jerk." And Opie replies, "Not the only guy, but I was the only black man at the table. 2 of my friends at the table were black women who were treated just fine. And the only other guy was mixed, but he's pretty light-skinned, and most people don't know that he's mixed. Everyone else was not black. I didn't mention this before because I was trying to avoid making it into a racial thing since my other friends weren't treated the same as I was. Though I'm keenly aware of how black men are perceived and treated based on that perception, the waiter was Latino." And JRM 1102 says, "Not the jerk. Well, tipping is based on service. If you think that the service was poor, then don't tip. But are you sure this guy doesn't know you? 'Cause this is odd." And OP replies, "I definitely didn't recognize him from anywheres. And the only thing I can think of is that he mistook me for someone else. I say this because often I used to work in a mall and people would confuse me with someone else at the mall. I never met the guy, but a lot of people that worked in the mall, particularly in the food court, would always tell me that they thought that I was the other guy. And No Process 8478 says, not the jerk, but you should have complained to the manager. And Raven MN says, not the jerk. Absolutely inform the management. This is egregious behavior, and you might actually find out what the guy's problem is. It's seriously so out of bounds, and he'll just keep doing this to others until one of you speaks up. Also, don't be afraid to speak up. It would have been so cool if you and the entire table spoke up directly once you noticed the problem. Imagine all of your friends saying that they would return their food and demand new orders to be made and delivered at the same time as yours. Imagine all of you standing up in the restaurant and demanding that kind of treatment. This guy deserves to be called out by you. Never forget that a small group of people working together can make a world of difference. All right, folks, now that we have a little bit more information, what do you think?
Absolutely not the jerk. Now, this is like one of the very rare exceptions where I would think it's okay not to tip.
Yep.
This was very targeted, and I thought from the beginning, and these comments I think pretty much confirmed that it probably was a case of mistaken identity.
Yep.
But even if this other guy had wronged the waiter in the past, the appropriate course of action, if he didn't think he could give good service, would be to let the manager know and ask to switch with someone else. The way he handled it was completely inexcusable. And I can understand why OP would not want to tip in that circumstance.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to tip either at that point in time, and I'm someone who tips basically all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that it's really important to support people in these kinds of positions, and I think it's important to make sure that they have a livable wage, and so that's why I do think that tipping someone is absolutely critical. As for tipping someone in this case, I mean, again, like tipping is based off of the idea that you are performing a service for someone. If you aren't performing a good service for someone, then you have to expect that you're not going to get a tip.
Well, and this isn't even a case of like OP said, it wasn't just like having a bad day type of situation. This was very targeted. Like if they had just accidentally forgotten to put his order in and had responded appropriately, apologized, and usually in those kind of situations they'll offer you a discount or
or
a free
comp your
dessert
meal,
or
yeah.
something like that. But there was just no accountability whatsoever, it seemed like.
Well, that's it too, is that there wasn't any accountability, and basically this guy just went ahead and did all this stuff to OP, and there's nothing that OP could do for it. I mean, I do agree with some of those comments that were saying oh, you should have approached the manager with
Mm-hmm.
this, right? I mean, at a certain point, it feels malicious, and I do
Mm-hmm.
think OP's right to kind of question it, and talk to the manager and find out why this guy is treating him so badly,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just unacceptable to forget somebody's order and to kind of treat somebody like this. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Letting My Sister-in-Law's Kid Order an Adult Meal for My Wedding? I'm getting married in 2026, and the meals are going to be steak, chicken, or vegetarian with mac and cheese and chicken tenders for the kids. My fiance's brother and wife RSVP'd with 3 adult meals and 1 kid meal. I know for a fact that they have 2 kids, a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old. I thought that they had made a mistake, so I called my sister-in-law to straighten things out. The invitation said that anyone under 12 was automatically going to get a kid's meal. Well, the reason why we have it is because the catering for this wedding is pretty expensive. It's $150 per plate for the adults. My sister-in-law wrote back saying that her 12-year-old is turning 13 in a few weeks and it won't make a difference at that time. I wrote back and said that it was because it was an extra $150 on our bill. My sister-in-law then pointed out that I didn't make the 12-year-old a flower girl or a bridesmaid even though her sister is. So the least that I could do is make it up to her and let her have an adult meal. I told her that if she wants her daughter to have a chicken dish, then she can switch plates at the reception. My brother-in-law and his wife don't like my reply, and my fiance is telling me to let him handle his brother. So, am I the jerk, or are they being entitled? All right, folks, there are a couple of pertinent comments on this one, too, so let's read those real quick. Salty with a Twist says, You're the jerk. Also, you couldn't find some small way for the 12-year-old to be involved in your wedding? And Opie replies, I told her that she could be the guest book attendant, but she said no. I wonder why. And OK Meow says, a 12-year-old will eat a lot. Mac and cheese and nuggets. Come on. You can do better. You're the jerk. And OP replies, that's what the venue offers. I'm not the one who put the mac and cheese and nuggets on the menu. That's on them. It's because that's what it's supposed to be, a kid-sized meal.
Yeah.
And Radiant Reflection says, you shouldn't have an expensive wedding if you can't afford to feed everyone. And OP replies, my parents are paying for it. I want to make it easier on them. And Twinkling Blue Eye says, you're the jerk. The kid will be 13, possibly 14 by the day of the wedding. They aren't a toddler. And OP replies, no, but she's going to be 12, almost 13 by the wedding. And Creepy Push 8629 says, you're the jerk. Why do you hate your sister-in-law? And OP replies, I don't hate her, but I don't like how she asked me to make her daughter a junior bridesmaid or a flower girl. First, it's my wedding, and two, she's too old to be whining about not being a flower girl, but clearly not old enough to eat an adult meal. And Professional Field 508 says, you're the jerk. And they were quoting, the invitation said that anyone under 12 was automatically going to get a kid's meal. If this is what it said, then 12-year-old should get an adult meal. But yeah, you're the jerk for not involving your fiance in the situation with your future in-laws from the beginning. And OP replies, I meant that it was anyone 12 and under. So anyone who is still 12 is getting a kid's meal. All right, folks, what do you think?
Yeah, OP, you're being the jerk. First of all, like the people pointed out, based on the way it was stipulated, 12-year-olds do not have to have kids' meals.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, it sounds like you either dislike or are entirely apathetic toward one of your nieces. Like, when you make one niece something in the wedding and not the other, that's kind of a jerk move. Oh, whoa, you can be the guest book attendant? What kid
Guest book
wants to be a
attendant.
guest book attendant?
Yeah, what 12-year-old wants to be a guest book attendant,
You
too?
know, and then again, if you can't afford enough meals for everyone, then don't like cut down on the price of the wedding. And this is coming from someone who had a very like our entire catering for our wedding costs less than a single plate. But it just seems like OP is being a jerk for because they can. Like OP's not even paying for the wedding. This isn't even coming out of their pocket.
Yeah, well, there are some pretty big issues here. The thing is, like you mentioned, OP isn't even paying for the wedding, and so why are they getting so hung up on the cost? I mean, if they're really this concerned, they should consult their parents and find out if it's going to be an imposition, right?
And
Eh, Oh, sorry.
well, and also like she's not involving her fiance at all. Like this is his family, and he's been like, "Let me handle it." Why doesn't he have a say?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is his wedding too, OP, not just yours.
Yeah. So I think that OP is wildly out of pocket here. I just think that they should be being more considerate, and like if the kid wants to eat an adult meal, then let the kid eat an adult meal. I do understand some of their concern here because like, oh, sometimes kids will say they want something and then they will basically like not eat the whole meal or anything like that, and it can go to waste. But even adults do that too,
Mm-hmm.
right? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Is my, a 39-year-old female's behavior with my husband, a 41-year-old male, too stubborn? I'm a 39-year-old female and my husband is a 41-year-old male, and we've been together for 20 years. I'm looking for some outside perspective if I'm being too unreasonable. We rarely argue and manage our household and parenting duties well. I can be quite stubborn when something truly annoys me. I do most of the cooking, and during weekdays, it's normally something quick after work, but not on weekends. It's full family meals. Well, a few weeks ago, while I was in the middle of cooking Sunday dinner, my husband called while he was out with the kids and asked if we were eating at home. I said yes and mentioned what we were eating, beef roast, and what I was making. And he responded that he was craving takeout, but seemed to accept that dinner was going to be made. However, he came home with takeout for himself and the kids, and they ate it while I was still cooking. I did get a few bites in, but he quickly realized that I was fuming. Though he did apologize afterwards, he offered to eat the food later, and even asked me to pack some for work. I told him that if he preferred takeout over my cooking, he could continue with that. Since then, I've only cooked for myself and the kids. He's apologized multiple times, bought flowers, taken me out to dinner, and asked what he can do to make it right. He also has spoken to the kids and explained that it was not nice of them to get takeout while I had already put a lot of work into making food for them. But I'm still holding on to the frustration. In our culture, food holds a lot of meaning, and to me, what he did felt like a real insult, especially because of the kid involvement. I understand that this might seem petty or blown out of proportion, but I'm still quite mad about it. I put a lot of effort into it and it wasn't appreciated. I work full time and have little enough time left for myself to waste on cooking that's not valued. He now says that I'm being unreasonable and want to move on unless there's something that he can actively do to fix it. Am I being overly stubborn in this situation? Just because it's Reddit, I'm not divorcing my husband over takeout, but I still feel like he needs to learn a lesson and appreciate things that I do for him, and I shouldn't be taken for granted. All right, folks, what do you think?
I think there's also an important context in the comments,
Yeah.
namely that the thing OP wants him to do is cook.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has been offered a perfectly reasonable way to make things up, because from the letter, it kind of sounds like, oh, there's no bar. He'll never
Yeah.
hit it. The important thing to know is that the bar is he has to do some cooking for a little while.
Yeah.
And I think that is very important here. I think that's a perfectly reasonable ask.
Yeah.
It is very frustrating and insulting to make a home cooked meal and then see your partner and kids come home with takeout, full well knowing there's going to be a home cooked meal at home. And on top of that, it sounds like takeout not for really OP, like they shared a little with her, but like they didn't even get her takeout.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand OP's frustration there, and it seems like her husband isn't appreciating her hard work that she's putting into the cooking. And so having him doing the cooking for a little while would hopefully give him a better appreciation for it. And I think he recognizes that, he understands how difficult it is, and that's why I'll do anything but cook. He'll
Mm-hmm.
take her out to eat, because it's easier to hop in a car and have someone make your meal than it is to sit down and make a good home cooked meal.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the biggest issue I have here is if this was just OP refusing to have any kind of way of making amends with her husband, I would say, oh yeah, you really you are justified in feeling upset, but you need to give him some kind of clear way of moving forward in this relationship. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But since OP has given him the thing that will make up for it, he's apologized. He says, "What can I do to make up for this?" OP tells him, cook dinner for an extended period of time,
And then
and
he's
he's
like,
like, no, that's too hard, I don't want to do it.
we just need to move on since there's nothing I can do to fix things.
Yeah, I'll do anything to fix it, but I won't do that.
Yeah.
In the famous words of Meatloaf. I mean, I really can't blame OP. I mean, they've given their conditions, he refuses, so I think that until he decides to step up and actually cook, then actually do the one thing that OP wants them to do to make up for this, that OP doesn't have to cook for him. Plain and simple. I think that OP is right to stand their ground here, and I don't think that they are really in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I think they might need couples counseling.
Yeah, well, and I think he really needs to reflect on his behavior and why he values OP's work so little. Like, clearly, if he's not willing to do it, it's not something that's easy or anything like that. It is a big time sacrifice, and he should be helping or more around the house if he's not.
Yeah, well, I do think that he realized like halfway through the whole thing that maybe he was being really rude. But it was only after like OP was fuming.
Well, but why did it take that? Why did he have so little appreciation for what she was doing? And why couldn't he over the phone have mentioned, oh, well, is there any chance we could save this or something like that, instead of just, oh, surprise takeout for me and the kids?
Well, then he didn't even get her any takeout.
Well, yeah,
too, right?
exactly.
So it was like a complete lack of like consideration. He could have asked her, and I think he understood that if he asked her what she wanted to eat, that she would have been like, no, we're going to be eating beef stew or beef roast because that's what I'm cooking. And we can do takeout later in the week or something like that, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Is like, I don't like his entitlement here. The way he feels entitled to OP's cooking. Like, I think it's a perfectly fitting cause that like it's fine if he doesn't want to eat OP's cooking, but if he is not going to appreciate the time and energy she puts into it, he shouldn't benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
If he can't give her the same time and energy back, then why should he always be benefiting from OP's time and energy?
Mm-hmm. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Just sit up and get to the joke book. What might you call a fancy dress for a circus performer?
Oh, I would call a fancy dress for a circus performer clown skin because the circus performers, as horrifying as it is, dress in clown skins in order to do their horrific clown acts. I don't know, it's pretty
That's
terrible.
pretty horrifying, but no, a clown gown.
Clown gown, that's what I said.
No, no, that's not what you
I
said.
mean, you said it as well as I said it. We were all thinking it.
I was thinking of like a ball gown, but like kind of like with like maybe like the pom poms and stuff, like a clown outfit. That's You're looking at me weird. Anyway, it's Fashion Day and National Picnic Month.
Oh, so go find yourself a clown and turn that frown upside down. So yeah, also go find yourself a picnic. Make sure to sneak into a park while people aren't looking.
Yeah, don't
Approach.
steal people's food.
I didn't say steal. I said sneak in,
Yeah, don't sneak in.
approach them while they aren't looking, and then take their picnic baskets.
That's theft, Brian.
Hey, boo boo! We're gonna get ourselves a picnic basket.
Yeah, you're not a cartoon bear. You can't get away with it.
Yogi, that's not great. Make sure to embody Yogi the Bear this month. And I have Earl Grey. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy, wonderful Wednesday, Hump Day Friday, Junior's Eve. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it a haiku for Haiku Wednesday.
Respect the cook, or maybe it will be your turn to make the dinners.
Yes, exactly. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.